What's up, everybody? Kramzer here from Taste Like Music, and it's time to do Chapter 3 of our favorite albums of 1963. If you've been paying attention, we've kind of been doing these big anniversary years. On the March year, this being 2023, we're doing 63. Recently, we decided that we're going to do 2003. I wanted to just jump into that. I'm a little sick of old music, things that have been listened to for 60 years, written about and reviewed for 1,000 times. I really just want the new music. So 63 was a bit of a slog for me, just in that nature. And if I'm being perfectly honest, like 63, there's definitely some good stuff. The albums that are lauded for a reason, in my opinion. But the album format isn't really perfected yet, which is something we love on the channel. And, let's be honest, society as a whole is a lot different in 1963 than it is even from 65, or especially 68, 69. The music is a lot more reserved. You didn't have that cultural revolution, at least here in the States. I don't know exactly as well how things were going in that sort of nature in the UK or elsewhere. But here, and it's really reflected in the music, you had to keep everything in a box. Didn't really explode till the drugs came out. On a little bit of a side note, too, I'm changing a little bit of my star rating systems. Not the value of the stars themselves, but, kind of how I talk about them. I don't want to be as objective. I don't want to say 4 stars is great, 2 stars is bad. I'm going to talk about it on a more personal, receptive level. So 3 stars is good. 3.5 is, I did it again. 3 stars means I like it. 3.5 means I really like it. 4 means I love it. 1 is I hate it, absolutely hate it. 2.5 stars is kind of like, I don't mind it, but I don't want it. And that's where I'm starting off. My number 25 for 1963, Barbara Lewis with Hello Stranger. Now, this kind of falls into the arena of a lot of other kind of girl pop, singer-songwriter, girl kind of stuff at the time. But I don't think this one gets enough recognition. I say that like I'm really boosting it up, giving it 2.5s, but here's what it's got that I really like. It's got a lot of she-bops. It's got a lot of that 50s luau sounding organ, like the Hawaiian backyard barbecue kind of feel. I love that sound. I think it's so iconic. The album, as it goes on, kind of fades. It's quite top-heavy off the bat with the title track. Everyone doing their best song and title track right at the number 1 spot. Then you get Puppy Love. Those are 2 of the best on the album. Then it's a bit of a slog. Gains steam toward the end, but the middle is quite weak. But Barbara Lewis has a really understated kind of way of going about things. She's not as boisterous or as lush and baby doll, doe-eyed kind of thing as a lot of other singers at this time. So it's nice that she's just kind of got a little bit of a moderate middle ground. Background vocals on this album are great. It's the organs that really do it for me, and that she-bops, like I said. Kind of hanging on to the 50s a good bit more than other stuff from 1963. But yeah, I think this deserves to be mentioned in a similar mix to a lot of the other pop groups and female pop groups at the time. Just a bunch of very good tunes. Not enough for me to go back to. Again, I'm just at 2.5, but enough to make my list. Number 24, I'm going with Johnny Cash in Blood, Sweat, and Tears. This is a big, just novelesque kind of albums. It's got his classic outlaw country sound. I'm always going to like Johnny Cash, just that razor-sharp voice, and his cadence is so cool. But these songs are all big stories and ballads of the American working man, especially blue collar, hard labor out in the sun. There's a song called Roughnecks, that sort of stuff. Good Americana feel. There's definitely some corny narration, character dialogue, sound effects, but I think it gets the job done with the storytelling. Busted is a terrific track. That song will actually turn up later. It's a real down on your luck, kind of tune that speaks to the audience. Casey Jones, classic song, really nice version. There's actually some nice banjo work on this album as well. It's just really nice southern blues, train track kind of mood. Number 23, I've got Sam Cooke with Mr. Soul. He'll be on the list again later. All-time great voice. He's got that strength and tenderness. I really like this album for the mood and the singing. There's great playing. And Sam Cooke just has that old-timey goodness. Feels like wisdom all around. If I'm being honest, the songs don't really snag as well as other stuff of the year for 63 on Mr. Soul. Compositions are a bit boring to me. Basic arrangements, big sweeping strings, and jazzy air floating about. But no mistaking the greatness of his voice. I would probably melt if I had a chance to see him live. but the album, as an album, not amazing. Can't really find a track on it that I need in my life. Maybe All the Way. I mean, this album is all about Sam Cooke's voice, carrying it in my top 25. Number 22 for me, I'm going with Presenting Dionne Warwick. Someone I really don't know too well, but I really dig. There's a cool rhythm to her singing style. It's got cool pauses and swells and quick octave dives and drops. Like the pitches drop off the face of the cliff for her. Really nice technique. Still conventional enough to be approachable. Sounds a bit like early Feist to me at times. I really love the strings on This Empty Place. I like the command she has with everything served to her and the band behind her. Wishin' and Hopin' is awesome. There's bubbly pop stuff, like on that track, then the big soulful soliloquy-esque kind of I Cry Alone. Even an enjoyable version of Zippity Doo Dah. This all kind of happens at the beginning of the album, so it does fade. Really soft and quiet, kind of tumultuous pain in her voice, and If You See Bill. I'm really impressed by the vocals. I want to explore more Dionne Warwick. Cool jazz piano on Unlucky. Songs, for the most part, other than the ones that I mentioned, are quite forgettable. And, after track 4, there's not as much memorable stuff. But I love the style, and I love the vocals. Nothing I need to revisit, but good enough for the list. Number 21, I've got Little Deuce Coupe. Beach Boys. I'm still at 2.5, which means I don't mind it. There is some recycled stuff by their own accord by this time, but the charm and the harmonies are better than just anyone going on really right now, and they have that distinct pop sensibility. Be True to Your School is enough to elevate in the top 25. Great song. I'm coming around to Ballad of Old Betsy. Pretty nice. The teenager car craze utilized well in this album. 409 is pretty cool. I mean, just nobody sounds better in this era, really, than the Beach Boys. They do that California surf pop. They do that trick here. Obviously, this era. We know the Beach Boys. We talk enough about them. They're making number 21 on my list. Number 20, we're going surfing, but not the Beach Boys. We got the Ventures with Surfing. 3 stars, which means I like it. Just such a cool vibe. The guitar tone alone is enough to hook you in. Spectacularly created with an outlaw kind of country reverb to it and a just ferocious excitement in the strumming. Expertly crafted. The way things build and slowly rise over your head like a tidal wave. Super cool. Really underrated musicianship all around, not just on the guitar, but there's some really terrific hi-hat work, double time, little tight little lifts and stuff that kind of lay the groundwork for some up-tempo hard rock stuff that would happen in 5 or 6 years. There's some really nice ghostly and pretty backing vocals, nice rattle and roll on the snare. The one thing you can say is that they were a major influence on so much more than just music. There's a lot of use in cinema and advertising and stuff, and you can't discard that. Absolutely unique sound by the Ventures on this album, really stand out. I love some of the things you don't really hear in the guitar work, and other guitar work of the time, the super low end, bassy little slides, at the end of the song Diamonds, very cool. Then you get some bluesy bends on Windy and Warm. Excellent guitar work throughout. Just, laying that groundwork for hard rock. The songs are just little bursts of electric sunshine. Surf Rider is a masterpiece, that iconic lead part. So much emotion behind it, just in its composition. Lots of excitement on the album, tightly played. The Lonely Sea at the end is gorgeous, very vast and epic in a way. They have a narrow genre and a narrow doorway to go through on their journey to greatness, but they do a lot in that little space. Number 19, I've got the Angels with My Boyfriend's Back. First of all, I've seen a lot of different versions and track listings of this album, often undefined. I don't really know what I'm looking at, but I'm going with what's on streaming because that's what I use. It kind of, it opens with the title track, then goes into I Adore Him, and then Dream Boy, so that's the version. Title track is iconic. I really love the pop sensibilities of the girl groups of this time. This is just a solid album. Memorable melodies, underrated rhythm section, perfect sugary sweet tone. I love the clap tracks. I just love the whole arena of this vibe. I Adore Him I actually like more than the title track, which was the big hit. I really like its doe-eyed cuteness. Harmonies are solid, very youthful sense of longing. There's a really cool guitar solo with this spacey, out there sonic texture in Dream Boy that doesn't sound like anything else in pop at the time. Little Beetle Boy has a nursery rhyme kind of nature to it. I really dug the stuff, too, that came out 50 years after this in my world of, indie rock and indie pop with, that girl pop revival with, Sky Ferreira and Best Coast, things like that. Everything is full of hope and syrupy sorrowness, but shallow enough to not really weigh that hard on you. It's fluff, it's good fluff. Why Don't That Boy Leave Me Alone is nice. Different approach, complaining about attention, tired of being catcall. Want to slap the boy in his face. Maybe my second favorite song on the album. I'm gonna tell my boyfriend if he gets fresh with me again is a great line. Got some faint surf rock with You Can't Take My Boyfriend's Woody. Has Anybody Seen My Boyfriend? Nice and chipper and catchy. I like this album. Number 18, I'm going to Ray Charles with Ingredients and a Recipe for Soul. 3 stars. I like it. Ray sounds great here. I love him every time I hear him, but I've never really taken that dive into his catalog. I'm always impressed. I should. The band here is really freaking good. It's got like jazz, R&B, soul, but like a big band kind of like swagger to it that brings it all together. A little bit of everything and a bunch of really good songs. We get Busted here. We got it on the Johnny Cash album before, and it's really cool here in 1963 getting vastly different versions of one song, and it's amazing to show how different like the world of pop and everything was, or these songs kind of get passed along. Very cool that happened. Born to Be Blue, fantastic string sweeping in, lots of variety on this album I really appreciate. Ray's voice isn't perfect, and I think that's kind of the appeal. He's got like a really like nice guy next door kind of approach to everything, a real neighborly appeal. Doesn't have that smoothness of Sam Cooke, doesn't have that unusual, like, confidence of Johnny Cash. He's just very conversational with the way he sings, and it works really well in this album. I wish the album cut loose a little bit more. There is some excellent piano work, and the brass section sounds so good when it does heat up. Those are kind of my favorite moments on here. That I wish there was a little more of them. Old Man Time, probably my favorite on the album. Number 17, I've got Leslie Gore sings of Mixed Up Hearts. 3 stars. I prefer this to Cry If I Want To, just because I think there's better tunes. More of them, better quality. Opens with She's a Fool. She can't believe that this girl is cheating on such a cool guy. Really good sweetheart pop of the time. She's the perfect kind of teen girl singer for this era because I don't know if anyone else hears it, but I think there's a little bit of oddness in her. I know there can't be too much given the realm of like the pop status and the target audience and the genre, but laying somewhere in there is a bit of goofiness. Not all the way like Cyndi Lauper goofiness, but it's there. Fools Rush In is really nice. Great girl next door quality. Tender strings sweeping in and out. But I like that there's really good balance of like dynamic on the album. It takes you on a good ride. Good track listing. My Foolish Heart is endearing. You get Sunshine, Lollipops, and Rainbows, which might be my favorite on the album. She's putting a lot more oomph into her vocals on this song, which is pretty cool. Then, the highlight, maybe not my favorite, but You Don't Owe Me is really dark and icy and dealing with like a little bit more of like a feminist tonality, which is really awesome and unusual for the time. So yeah, rated against her other release, I like it a good bit more, especially because of just the depth of it, and the second half alone is better than any half on Cry If I Want To. Number 16, I'm going with some jazz. Miles Davis, 7 Steps to Heaven, 3 stars. I don't really know or listen to a lot of jazz, but the reason why is I really love it when it's live. I can get into it, I can get it in my body. When I'm listening to it at home or on a walk or whatever, I merely only kind of like it. But man, like, this is so cool. Smoky and steamy, light and airy. Such control over the little nuances of his trumpet. There's like this relaxing intensity to everything. I love the opener, Basin Street Blues. Then there's like more sunny, kind of charming flurry in the second track, the title track. I love the runs and the upright bass. Herbie Hancock on piano, anchoring the high end. Really nice throughout the album. I find the drum solos a little underwhelming, but, I'm used to the controlled chaos of my favorite rock drummers. I Fall in Love Too Easily is my favorite on this album. It's got that reflective rainy day, head against a window pane, heartache kind of sensation, watching the tears slide down. Perfect for like a Woody Allen scene of remembrance, or remembering before he was a major creep. Miles, really singing on this album with his trumpet. The song Come Home is really nice. I love the groovy bass work on Joshua. That's a really nice, hot, kind of cool way to close the album. With a lot of confidence and attitude. Like I said, I always like jazz, but I only ever really love it when it's live. 15, I'm going with an album that I think might be actually higher than what it is. It's one that I've been listening to a little bit more since I listened to it for this project. But I'm going with Folk Songs and Blues from Mississippi John Hurt. 3 stars and climbing. Big influence with his like quiet, folky crooner kind of demeanor on Bob Dylan. Nice and very kind of country-esque, Delta acoustic kind of blues work. I have another blues guitar album on here coming up. This one is drastically different. There's like a folksy, bluesy familiarity and welcoming quality to it. It's very pretty, like little butterfly kind of finger-picking style. You know, very flowery, very sunny. I like the song Candyman Blues quite a bit. Just everything is lovely, and lovely is not a word I will describe with the other bluesy guitar album that I have on my list. But the finger pick work here is second to none. From the time it came out, I really don't know a lot of other like guitar albums, but this is pretty melodic and intricate, pretty awesome. The recording is also kind of rough, which I like. There are some cuts on this album where you can't really make out the vocals, which to me is like kind of charming and really illuminating part of the past. So it's got like an antique quality to it I really like. And then maybe my favorite song on the album is Cow Hooking, which is just simply terrifically beautiful, flowery, kind of like fingerpick work that you will hear in like someone like Nick Drake or Donovan or something like that. Number 14, I've got Prisoner of Love from James Brown. It was a very surprising album. It wasn't the kind of James Brown I'm used to. Never heard this before and was really surprised at the boyish nature and like innocence and fragile state of his delivery. Really cool. He really cracks into some high notes. He sounds really young. Title track is very good. I love the line "Tears are falling down my brain" and the song "Waiting in Vain." Very cool. R&B and soul, slow like heartbreak tracks. You just really sink into the vocals. It allows you to do that really well. He's got a lot of flavor on it. Throws in his "help me" kind of thing here and there. Such a sense of solitude shared between James and the microphone I really dig. I like a lot of the strings on it, but it is a bit antiquated for me, just considering in a few years we'll get like Black Sabbath and such. It doesn't really work for me on the sound for some reason. Thank God psychedelics happened. Songs are a bit repetitive on here for me, however the short-natured tracks and how James Brown fills every airspace with like power and passion. He's just an entertainer, and you get that in the vocals. There is a kind of surprising, nice little jazz piece, that thing in G, which is really cool. And again, a nice like rough recording gives it a real blue-collar appeal. Next, boring, number 13, we've got the Beatles with the Beatles. All My Loving is great. Boy band pop rock, lots of fun, cutesy but sophisticated. Great dynamic with all the singers all having personality and getting a turn and writing. I think that's the brilliant appeal that they had at the time. Lots of covers on the back half of here, a little bit hit or miss for me. I like Roll Over Beethoven. I don't really like You Really Got a Hold on Me, but there's really no denying that they got the mojo and they got the talent at this point in time. Case in point, number 12, Please Please Me, the Beatles. You got Love Me Do. I saw her standing there. All awesome. Such a fresh British perspective and approach to everything here on their debut. Fascinating take on pop rock that Americans were kind of getting tired of. You get even like this auteur kind of aura even on the debut, even though it's a band, even though they're taking turns with writing and singing, but they ooze charisma and confidence. They just have that it quality, and of course, you get Twist and Shout, one of the best rock and roll vocal performances of all time at the end. John just dying like a cigarette burning out. Oh, so good. Skyrockets this album toward my top 10 easily. Anyway, it's the Beatles. I'm sick of hearing about them, sick of talking about them. They get enough love on this channel. Let's move on. Well, we might as well just keep talking about people that we love, especially Joe and Jason. Number 11 for me is Surfer Girl, Beach Boys. It's got those sweetheart school dance vibes to it. It's very lush, pretty, romantic. It's definitely better than the other Beach Boys album I had on my list already. It won't be the last, spoiler. But, it's got that beachy, slow dance on the shore kind of vibe. I really like it. I mean, just the sound in general. It's always going to win you over. It's so masterfully produced. Everything sounds so good. It just swallows you whole with, like, that beachy, poppy, driving along with your best gal and the surfboard under your arm kind of feel. South Bay Surfers is cool. You get the cool thing is it's a blend of the surf rock scene of the time, but a lot more radio hooks, big sweeping melodies, and the vocals just off the charts. Harmonies from heaven. But what sets this album apart is Catch a Wave and In My Room really show the brilliance to come. The building of the melodies and the cool, weird kind of chord shifts, really their bread and butter. Just beautiful, and a radio-friendly songwriting prowess that is beyond anyone, even the Beatles to me at this time. And the sound just so eclectic and unique. It's their brand, it's their stamp. They do it so well. They're pros. Really great. And you can tell that the subtext and the more poetic and artistic vision is about to emerge. You still get the fluffy bubble gum of like Hawaii and stuff, but it all sounds really good. All right, kicking off the top 10, we got Roy Orbison, and we are now at 3.5. Stuff I really like. Roy's just simply one of the best singers of all time. The title track is great. Probably not credited enough as a songwriter. But, he's got that kind of like rebellious nature in the guitar while this like cascading heartland, like delicate, booming, soaring voice comes in. And he does that perfect little quiver dangling on the edge of his words. So good. The arrangements everywhere are angelic and dusty. It's got that like, country western, but, kind of spaghetti western almost feel. Like it's a little bit surreal, but very cool. But it's just the perfect landscape for his voice. Love the twinky little piano work in Lonely Wine. Just such a romanticism in his voice. I love Shadowroba. Got a cool mystical feel. Nice cowboy step, little darkness to it at times. I love the brass work and No One Will Ever Know. Maybe one of the best produced albums of the year. There's a lot of different instruments, a lot of different moods going on, and they're all expertly crafted. There's a lot of stuff to grab onto, lots of influences. And he does these little mechanical changes to his vocal performance to kind of suit some of those varying styles, which is another just credit to how good and professional of a voice he is. Sunset, really nice, hot, messy, jazzy blues style to it, very cool track. I feel like the magic of his appeal at this time is evident on this album, that it's just like mature enough to appeal to older audiences, but he's also given those young, heart-pulling whimsy to like the younger teen crowd too. Maybe he's a little bit stuck in the 50s on this album, but absolutely good enough, to work and really good. I love the harpsichord on Blue Bayou. Just a bunch of quality songs, sung greatly, wonderful epic arrangements, sweeping and fulfilling, but never overdone. My number 9 is He's a Rebel by the Crystals. Quality girl group stuff at the time. Really popular genre driven, but probably my favorite version is the Crystals, especially the most powerful vocals to me. The most passion, coolest sound, and easily the most memorable melodies. Love the title track, especially the sax solo in it. He hit me, but it felt like a kiss. Now there's something to say and a cool story behind it as they pulled it themselves as a single, I'm made to believe. Yeah, definitely a dark subtext about that. She's sympathizing with her man after being abused upon his confession of infidelity. Or her confession, excuse me. He hit me and I know he loved me. Pretty messed up dark stuff for 1963. Shows you how far we've come. Da Do Run Run comes in and it's just a super mood lifter. Very pretty, very catchy. Just great charming warmth to these melodies and tunes. Even got a nice little instrumental break in Walking Along. Just some ooh-ahs in the background. Little surfer-esque guitar tone too, soloing with blues mixed in. So these are never just run-of-the-mill albums, with the Crystals. They play around with stuff. There's a great string lead in the intro to Look in My Eyes, which is some gorgeous falsetto harmony work. I just like their wall of sound. It sounds so much better than the rest. I Love You, Eddie is really clever. Really cool version of On Broadway. He's Sure the Boy is awesome. A raucous feel-good party tune, really upbeat and thumping. Just really smart, good girl pop group stuff of the time. Gonna go with James Brown, Live at the Apollo, 3.5. Didn't really get what I was expecting with this, and I should have known because of 1963. I'm used to those big, robust, full albums that kind of just move straight through with just little track breaks, but this is a little bit manufactured and different. It's 30 minutes long, which is different for a live album, but it's full of fun, entertaining. James' stage presence is just absolutely amazing, really live, and actual surprising buzzing guitar. Horns are great as well on here. James sounds great, band is tight. Songs are really brought to life. The recording is pretty good. The horns in particular sound amazing, really robust and right on top of you. The rest of everything is a little weak in the mix and not as crisp for sure. And like I said, I like that it's short. It's kind of just like a sweet little bite, really, rather than a journey through a concert. And I think it works for this. The version of Try Me is great. Wonderful crowd pop at the beginning. I dig the instrumental breaks. Glad they kept that in there. You can really picture everyone kind of shaking and grooving and moving around to these tracks. I Don't Mind is devastating, and it's really captured on the live performance. I love it. You get so much feeling out of the performance. I actually kind of like the guitar tunes here. Most surprising, and you can say, if anything of this record, it's fun. Like I said in the other James Brown review, he's an entertainer, and he's just so friggin' good. So much charisma just in this little old recording. Night Train at the end is an exhilarating tune. His voice goes off the rails at times, then reins him back in. I love the crowd interaction, calling out NYC and all that. Just great entertainment, which is pretty good praise for a live album. Number 7, move over Whitney Houston. I've got a new favorite Christmas album on the channel. Yes, presented by Phil Spector, A Christmas Gift For You from Phil Spector. Just that sound, his wall of sound, wall of noise, whatever it is, made for Christmas, even in non-Christmas songs. It's so cheery, hopeful, whimsical, warm. Really good version of solid songs. You know, it's basically Darlene Love, the Ronettes, and the Crystals. But, you know, it's hard to believe, but Christmas songs to me often trump the deep cuts of a lot of albums in this era because they're just simply higher up there in song quality. So you get this album, great vocalists, Phil Spector sound, that quality of good catchy tunes that we all know, with meaning, with feel. I mean, Christmas songs are emotional. I think it's worthy of a top 10 arrival here. I think every version on here is memorable. I hadn't heard a lot of these different songs done by these groups, and I like that a lot. The thing I really like about it is it's got a cohesive element because it's brought to you by Phil Spector. You know, it's just not thrown together collection of like Bing Crosby and Nat King Cole and the best, you know, artists of today. There's a river running through it, which I really like, a glue. And I think every version on here is good. The only thing I don't really like is the narration that Phil does at the end through Silent Night, you know, but whatever. Number 6, I've got my other Sam Cooke entry. I've got Night Beat. We're still at 3.5. The superior Sam Cooke release of the year. With better songs, better everything. This is the greatness of Sam Cooke. On this album, he's intimate and expansive at the same time. Give him a room with 10,000 people, and every single one of those 10,000 is going to think that Sam is singing to him or her. Everything is so rich here, and one of the best sounding albums of the year. The piano work on Nobody Knows the Trouble I'm In is exceptional, and the composition of the first song on here alone is far better than anything on Mr. Soul. There's giant strings and bass littered across the album, really good musicianship. The way the high end of his voice resonates in the air is so nice on this recording. And the album seems to have more of his brain, which I really appreciate, more of his opinion, more of his commentary, even the stuff that's not his. The way he sings it, he puts his spin, it's very telling. And he just has that perfect uplifting kind of melancholy to everything. You know, everything's going to be all right down in the dumps kind of feel. You know, Mean Old World is charming and has a lot to say. This is a mean old world to try and live in and all by yourself. Great sentiment, one of the pieces that he wrote, I believe. The piano, again, the unsung hero of the record, so good on Please Don't Drive Me Away. I Lost Everything is really good. Get Yourself Another Fool is wonderful. But his voice is everything. Just sits in the middle of the mix and between those high piano keys and the upright bass so well. Little Red Rooster on here is cool. It's not my favorite. I think for the blues, he's not really meant to do that. You need a little bit more grime and gristle in your voice during the fire. That should sound like your voice is on fire. But really, there's not a bad track on here. Maybe my least favorite, Little Red Rooster, but really good record. My number 5, I've got a country album in the top 5. There's no denying Loretta Lynn sings. Her voice is just tremendous. What a debut. And the strings and the pedal steel are all great. It's got that big Texas banquet feel. Her voice is incredible and masterfully recorded. There's also just like a muffledness in the way that she sings. She's trying to burst out of it. She kind of swallows and is a bit more nasally, but still her voice comes through really big. It's hard to describe, but I really like it. A lot of the albums I picked primarily because of the vocal performances, and I think this might be my straight-up favorite vocal album of the year. I do enjoy the country flair. It's not too much for me. It's so much that it actually works, and her voice is just like this womanly yet baby doll kind of quality swoon to it. I even really like that she wrote a track on here, The Girl That I Am. I think that song's fantastic. It's just as good as anything on the album, showing off her pen as well as her voice. You get the more two-step back of the pickup bounce in a hee-haw style with the song Act Naturally. That's a highlight for me. So you get love songs, you get fun, you get poppy melodies, you get some low-key great guitar work, and just that really country western cheesy, like melodramatic feel to everything that's just perfect for this. All right, number 4. Surprised by the Loretta Lynn in there, weren't you? Number 4, Beach Boys, Surfin' USA. I think this is the best of their kind of young, dumb, and fun era. Not too heady, just nice and poppy and fun. Some very underrated guitar work. I love the title track. You know, I think growing up, obsessed with hard rock and stuff like that, and that getting all of the acclaim and publications and stuff, it's, you know, I've said great guitar work a lot throughout 1963 because there is some really good stuff. So that's a good motif. Probably what I learned the most from 63 was still some really cool musicianship that I underappreciate. But here on Surfin' USA, I love the title track. I really like the low end of some of the guitar juxtaposed with the high end of the harmonies. Just a great listen. Farmer's Daughter is solid. Of Cool little version of Miseraloo, not too unlike the original. And I just think this is like the quintessential surf album of the time because of the variety of highlighting some instrumental work, showcasing the poppier style, making it kind of corny about surf, like, a little bit tongue-in-cheek. I love Stoked, love that little guitar lick there. Just really like all the tracks on here. Lonely Sea is a lovely little stormy slow ballad. Honky Tonk is really cool, their version of some surf rock blues. Lana is wonderful, love that jaunty piano. Just really enjoyable, mind-numbing, quality surf rock here. It's like fast food for me, just instant pleasure. Number 3, Don't Turn Me From Your Door. John Lee Hooker sings the blues with Memphis Slim. I'm up to 4 stars now. These are albums that I love. This one is so cool. It's so dark, so gloomy, so bluesy, so haunting. It sounds raw, rustic, dirty, direct. It's pure. The guitar is magical. All about the body feel. So cool. So innovative and influential. The spoken singing style over the flashy playing is such a killer classic blues dynamic. It's like paint and primer. Just like you get, prime it up with a little bit of vocals, but then the guitar is the paint job on it. It really tells the story. And just like maintaining that killer blues style, which will in a few years be kind of idolized and used by Keith Richards with some killer licks and stuff like that. You get the song like You Lost a Good Man, really great opening little lick, so steamy with so much feel. And don't underappreciate his voice here. You get that super masculine, deep pain, love when he does his humming. It's like everything the Black Keys are trying to be. I think John Lee Hooker overall is criminally underrated and someone that we on the channel and everyone else doesn't talk about enough. I think he is the man when it comes to old school blues guitar. Not just in technique and feel, but in style. You just picture that smoky, wooden, southern bar. Driftin' Blues is one of my favorites of the year. It's so patient, so awesome. Then it rocks the album right after with Wobbling Baby. I don't really remember there being any drum work on this record at all, but he certainly pumps it up with his playing. My favorite song on the album is Salty Dog. Really sprightly, quirky little tune. I think there's this really classy, folksy simplicity to it. An everyman vibe that he has at times. It's really awesome. But guitar, baby, so awesome. Number 2, I've got Jazz Samba Encore by Stan Getz and Louise Bonfa. And I'm up to 4.5. I really love this record. First time listening to it. Gonna put it on my dinner party later this week. I'm pumped. Combination of Stan's alto sax and the guitar of Bonfa. Amazing. Beautiful and lively. Transcends you out of whatever room you're in. Easily, to me, the best played album of the year. Musician's dream. Perfect restraint at times. Perfect showmanship. Wonderful balance. Pure joy. And you can feel it coming off the instruments. It's a bossa nova album. It's everywhere. Love the little baby step nature of bossa nova. It's infectious. It's impossible to put this album on and not smile or move. It just takes over. The softer pieces like Insanocentes, I'm sure I'm butchering some of these words. I apologize. Really seductive and alluring, full of sexuality. For our Patreon people. Tremendous vocal performances on top of everything here. The album is a total dream. Different in mood, though. It's not the same feeling as before throughout. Just really remarkable. But my number 1, as if there was any doubt, it's Freewheelin' Bob Dylan by the man Bob Dylan. You go through this list of 24 albums, and then you get to Bob Dylan, and you realize what he really did to music to change everything, to really take it as an American authorship behind it, with poetry, with commentary on political, strife, with commentary on social status, with a commentary on just pure love and everything in a way that was kind of put in a box before, and he kind of freed it up for a lot of people. And he did it, artistically and musically in these country and folk roots, which was really cool. It's like he's having a cup of coffee with you and sitting down, holding out his hand and inviting you to his story with this simple approach that you're used to, but he knocks you on your ass with his words and the importance behind them. That's the thing. He's not fooling around here. You get classics like Blowin' in the Wind, Girl from the North Country. It's just beautiful to kick off the album. He's just such a real poet of his time. Tremendously underrated arranger and composer. There's just great songs everywhere in here, like Down the Highway, Karina. I don't remember what I gave it in the Bob Dylan video. I don't think we're doing star ratings here, but I'm at 4.5. I'm close to 5. I was tearing up writing about this earlier. I love that, he borrows from so many influences, from old blues, from folk country. It all comes together just perfectly. It's the most Americana thing at the time, but it can reach anywhere in America. It just fits in. Everyone listened what he had to say. Not everyone, but nobody, not even the Beatles, wrote from the gut like him. And this is an album without a veil, just honest and direct. He has the ability to communicate sincerely and with so much conviction, straight to the point, while also being cool and flowery and hip. Just a beat poet with a dirty acoustic guitar catching a train. Just awesome. My number one favorite album of 1963, Freewheelin' Bob Dylan. All right, everyone, that's my list. My favorite albums of 1963. It was tough, so be gentle on me. And maybe let us know in the comments section what you liked, what you didn't like about my list, what you would change, what you were surprised from. And yeah, Joe and Jason apparently have already gone, so let's find out in the comments. Maybe we'll even do a poll. Whose list did you like the most for 1963? And do us all a favor, if you haven't posted your list, post it now. And even if you did post it in Jason or Joe's video, throw it on mine too, so, the more the merrier. Thanks for watching Taste Like Music. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell for notification, like, comment, join us on Patreon for exclusive content, and we will see you next time.